Now, being from San Diego, California, I don't really get out into the snow that often, basically once or twice a year during this time. And for the past few years, I've actually been taking the family out to Lake Tahoe, but this year we went to Breckinridge, Colorado, and it was a lot colder. It was anywhere between 0 to about 20 degrees. So I did take the Air 2S with me because of the fact that it was just a little bit smaller than my Mavic 3. So I wanted to, travel as light as possible, a little bit more compact. And when I was out there flying, Breckinridge is about 10,000 feet in elevation. I was experiencing just little things that I want to share with you guys of what I was experiencing and how I adjusted to it. And a huge thanks to Epidemic Sound for sponsoring a portion of this video. If you guys aren't familiar with Epidemic Sound, it's been my go-to site for all of the royalty-free music that you've been hearing in all of my videos. They are continuously adding to their library. They have over 35,000 tracks and over 90,000 sound effects for you to choose from. So if you are looking at adding some sound design to your videos and you don't want to deal with any monetization or copyright claims, make sure you guys take advantage of that link below. You get 30 days free trial from Epidemic Sound. Now when I took this up in the air for the first time, like I mentioned, we're at about 10,000 feet elevation. So I wasn't really used to it. And the one thing I did notice is that when I was in normal mode, the drone just wasn't really flying at all. It was kind of like sitting still. It almost felt like I was in cine mode or tripod mode. It was just kind of creeping around. And of course, I'm sure it's a combination of both the elevation as well as the cold weather. Now, even though the motors and the drone is strong and it can handle high winds, I think that elevation started to get to it. Switching it over into sport mode, I was able to then get this thing moving. So the first thing I did notice, if you are trying to fight elevation, wind, or snow, you might want to move it over to sport mode. It just gives a little bit more power for you to cut through the air. And because I moved it into sport mode and I still wanted to get some dynamic movement, some nice subtle movement, the one thing I did have to go into is the control settings and adjust your pitch and your rotation speed and smoothness. Because normally when I'm in sport mode, I normally don't look at trying to get something extremely, really smooth. But because of the fact that I was only able to fly in sport mode, you want to adjust those pitch and yaw settings, because if you still want to be going faster, but still want to get a nice smooth movement, also with the pitch of your gimbal, you're going to want to change that in the control setting on your remote. I like to normally keep my pitch speed a little slower and then move my smoothness up. That way, if you're moving something like the gimbal and you were to rotate it here, once you let go of that scroll wheel, it'll then smooth out instead of it just jerking and stopping. Adjust that smoothness here. That really helps you get those nice smooth transitions up and down. And speaking of controller, I did bring the smart controller with me, the original smart controller. I don't know why I didn't bring the RC Pro with me. I know I could have, because it does link up with the Air 2S, but I just grabbed the smart controller, linked it up, and it worked well. And the main reason why you're going to want to fly with something like a smart controller or even something like this, which is the Triple Tech, instead of your mobile phone, is because every time I fly with my iPhone in either really cold or really hot temperatures, it will always shut down. And that's definitely one of the biggest advantages of having something like a smart controller or something like a Triple Tech. The temperatures that these can withstand are the tolerance is a lot higher than something like your mobile device. And speaking of temperature, the one thing you're gonna wanna do is start with a nice warm battery. While I was inside of my room, I kept this kind of near where our fireplace was. Wanted to keep the batteries nice and warm. The one thing you'll notice is that when you're out there flying, you will deplete your batteries a lot quicker in colder weather. So whenever I went flying, I would normally try to keep this as warm as possible, pop it in there, get it out there, get GPS locked, and then get the drone moving. The one thing you don't want to do is just have your drone sitting outside in the cold. Of course, the battery will get a lot colder and you're not going to see as good of a performance from your drone. Your battery will also deplete a lot quicker. Now, for the most part, I tried flying as far as I could close to my room or the patio, but when I was out there flying, I did bring these with me, and I've talked about these before. These are the PG White Tech gloves. Highly recommend these if you're out there flying in cold weather. And the main reason why I like these gloves is that not only did I even use these for snowboarding, because they are all weather, but what's cool about these is that you can actually pop the tips off just like that on these two fingers. You can actually click it back, and also on the thumb. So if you want to touch your screen, if you wanted to just have a lot more tactile feel with your sticks, you're able to just pop these off, but still keep your hands nice and warm. These ended up being pretty much my all week gloves because it keeps you warm. And like I said, they're all weather and waterproof. So I actually did wear these when I was out there snowboarding, because when I was touching my action cameras, I just had to pop these off, turn my action camera on and off, and put this back on, and I was good to go. And jumping back over to the Air 2S, one of the things I did notice when I was out there flying, and it was coming down lightly, light snow was coming down, and for some reason, the obstacle avoidance kept getting triggered. So because I was around an area that didn't have anything around me as far as worrying about like power lines or trees or anything like that, I recommend turning off the obstacle avoidance if you know you have a nice open area, because for me at least, what happens is that when I went there flying, the snow or whatever it was in the air kept triggering the obstacle avoidance, and it kept kind of pausing or slowing the drone down a little bit. So that might be something that I experienced. I'm not sure if you guys experienced that as well, but probably recommend just turning off the obstacle avoidance so that your drone's not gonna, read or misinterpret the snow for another obstacle, and you're not gonna get jerky movements up in the air. Now, like I mentioned, I don't get out to the snow that often, so these are just some of the things I've experienced when I just went out there on my recent trip. If you guys are in an area that snows a lot or, has extreme weathers one way or the other, let me know down in the comment section what are some other tips that you guys might have for dealing with extreme cold or extreme hot temperatures. I also have another video that I did last year about some cold weather tips that I experienced when I was in Lake Tahoe. If you guys want to see that video, I'll make sure that's linked above as well as down below in the video description. Of course, if you guys got the value from this video, a big like would be much appreciated. Also, a huge shout out to our sponsor of this video, Epidemic Sound. Make sure you guys use those links down below for a 30-day free trial of Epidemic Sound. If you guys want to see some more tips and tutorials, make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel, turn that bell notification on. This is Ultra Nastasio with FlytPath.com. I'll see you in the next video. Take care.